over here just to record my buddy upgrading his JL tire carrier to a Smittybilt JL HD pivot. Looks like a nice piece of quality hardware here. Alright, it's a good idea to use plastic trim tools to remove these, otherwise you'll scratch your paint. Unless you don't care about your paint, but you can usually pick up these plastic trim tools at Harbor Freight Tools or somewhere cheap. You don't need a great set, you just need something that won't mar or scratch things.
Alright, so the next step is to disconnect the wiring.
Okay, these little tabs, easy to break. So you slide that red piece forward.
And squeeze that open.
And then up underneath there's a spot, there's a tiny little pin right behind it. I don't know if you can see my finger, but right there you actually lift that toward you and then it just releases the clip. Very gentle. Once you've undone the clips, you come to the other side and you get that wiring grommet done, because you're going to need to pull the wires out through the tailgate so you can remove the tire carrier here and the camera.
Okay, so next 13 mil, disconnect the Alright, we'll use this later. There's some things in here we're going to reuse. The next is to remove these
Little rubber anti-rattle.
On the inside, I'm pulling this way.
Well, the kit even comes with little plugs to plug the holes. That's a nice nice thing, well thought out, so you don't have holes sitting in your rear tailgate. All right.
Easy enough. Works a little better going on the edge on the.
There you go. Sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's releasing the tail light so we can get back there behind the tail light.
Alright, so there's the hinges. You have access to the hinges now. And next step is going to be closing the tailgate and taking off the hinges from the inside so that the tailgate doesn't sag and it stays in the position. It's got paint buildup, so you gotta.
There's my shim. So we have a couple shims here, and to hold them in place I suggest putting some tape on.
Alright, we're about to install the main carrier on the tailgate, and it says use blue Loctite. So it's another thing you're going to want to pick up at the store. Make sure we can shift it a little bit. So we're leaving these bolts a little bit loose, so we want to make sure we line up the inside bolts first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these shims to line the tape up so we know it's sitting at the right spot, and then you can drill that in. Perfect. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to push in on the tailgate too, so hold on a second. got them?
They're in. I'll probably snug them down in a second, but we want to try
Open and close it.
close it.
You just got them snug though?
Yeah.
So when you were tightening, I just applied pressure on the tailgate to push the tailgate against the seal because those inside hinges do allow a little bit of back and forth wiggle. So definitely have to have two people to do this last part. So this thing replaces the factory hinges completely. Puts all the weight of the tailgate in this nice assembly rather than the actual another piece it comes with. It comes with this so that it's just a nice piece that adds strength to the hinge assembly, and it looks as though it installs with another set of nuts on the inside of here. This lines up right over those existing holes. Take apart your existing factory tail light and camera assembly basically so you can get the cabling out. And we're also going to take this piece and reuse the lug nuts and the camera assembly from that. Alright, so this camera apparently has an inner plastic mount that apparently probably has a little bit of factory adhesive around here. So this piece stays, but if you look at the inside, there's a plastic piece right there that actually is an inner mount. That's got to get separated from this plastic piece, and they recommend using heat. So heat gun probably would be better, but stealing the wife's hair dryer should do the trick. And it's basically only heat up this lower portion here and get it nice and hot. And we'll see. Okay, once you've got it really hot, in theory, flip it over.
Hair dryer.
Use a couple pry bars. Here, I'll hold that. And then it should pry out. Alright, so second attempt, we spent a lot more time with the hair dryer, and it does release it. So take your time, get that thing nice and hot all the way around the base, and it just comes right out. Okay, what's nice, this Smittybilt is nicely designed. It has the new assembly basically for the spare tire carrier is all steel, and it has the mount ready to slide in the existing camera housing. Just fits right in like a glove. And then you take the spare tire nuts that came with, actually, or lugs, I should say, and you slide it right in, and you reuse the factory lugs, and you just use the factory screws that you used to take this thing apart in the first place. Yeah. Nice solid steel. Use the factory bolts that you used to take off the original factory tire carrier. And nice and loose there. My cross threading. So he crisscrossed the pattern so it all pulled in tight evenly, because if you just kind of go around, it may warp the tailgate a little bit. This way, if you go, you know, cross pattern like you're doing lug nuts. All right, classic. We mounted it and missed a step. These little bars basically that hold the nuts and you can't fit on after you get it mounted. So we loosened up the bolts, and now we're sliding it in the hard way, hopefully. There we go, there's one. And all we did was back out all the screws basically about 1.5 inches because it's close. You can almost slide those in with it bolted up, but definitely do it first. Do it first. Now locating these, we decided to put it at the highest point because we've got a 37-inch tire, and we kind of want to get that tire up as high as we can. Because the other mount over here, which is the actual part that kind of adapts the tire carrier, has enough holes in it to do some, so we can make it a little, you know, you know, we can go here or even go higher by mounting it, you know, above. So should work out. All right, so basically we opted to mount it at the highest point it can be to get that 37-inch tire is kind of as high as this tire carrier is going to let it go. So down, once that's down, then you basically figure out which holes you're going to use, depending on the offset of the rim, which holes you're going to basically mount, how far out you want that tire carrier to be so it's not rubbing up against the body. We're getting this measurement from here to the bottom of that ruler. Looks like it is, call it 8 inches, almost even. 8 inches even. Now this is different than a rim offset. This is physical offset from here to the edge of these tires, because that's really what we care about. We want this tire compressing onto the tailgate here when we bolt this thing up. Okay, so we selected, take a look at that tape. This is the part that sticks out the most, so we kind of want to make sure the rubber on the tire doesn't hit that. And we want to go to the face of right here, and we need at least 8 inches. So that's as far out as we can go. Let's hope it's enough to clear that little baby. Now what's nice about this tire carrier is if you take these top bolts out, loosen the bottom, it's designed to actually pivot forward so you can have your tire laying in an angle like this if you have the top off. So kind of nice. Take the top off, you want that tire to have that you know, pre-runner look or something, then you basically unbolt that, fold it forward. We didn't show it, but we test fit the tire, and we kind of think it sits a bit too high. Covers most of the rear window. So we're basically just taking these 4 bolts off to be able to drop this whole frame down. Okay, one of the things we found is this latch, it helped to actually adjust this slightly, because the tailgate tends to have a bit more of a sag in it with that much weight. The tire and the tire carrier seems to sag the tailgate about a 1/16 of an inch or so, maybe even up to an 1/8 of an inch when you open the door. So depending on where this is, we basically lowered it and moved it slightly back so that it would latch tighter, and that seemed to dial things in a lot better. It had a lot more shake at the top, a lot less shake at the top when we were closing it, so that might be the ticket. All right, now we got all this stuff on, cameras on. We're basically just going to route this wire back through into the tailgate and plug it back into the harnesses. These are stock wheels. Most tire carriers are basically made for aftermarket wheels. Aftermarket wheels have about a 2.5 inch different offset to them, so you actually have this whole bracket is 2.5 inch closer to the truck, and everything works out. If you want to run factory wheels, you've got basically it's got a deeper offset, and I don't know if you can see it, but you can run wheel spacers on the vehicle. So that's how much difference there is between, if you bought aftermarket, the rim is going to be a deeper dish than the factory ones. So if you want to keep factory wheels, this might be the only tire carrier you're going to be able to get that's going to do the trick for you. Putting stuff back together is about the same as taking it apart. Probably not going to record that, but I think what we'll do is we're going to set that tire on there one more time so you guys get one final look after we get a couple things assembled. All right, there it is. Tire on. That's about where, ooh, I can't even get back far enough to get it, but there we go. It's not too bad. Open and close it so we can check that out. That's nice. Slams pretty good. Minimal shaking, actually. We dialed that in with that bracket on the inside earlier. So everything with the kit came. We weren't missing anything, and everything worked. We didn't have to grind anything. Every nut we needed was there. Yep. So overall, this is a good kit, and it's, you know, pretty strong. So overall, a good product. Smittybilt JL rear tire carrier.